Hey guys, this is Nick with What Game Now, and this is the last of our Warcaster neo-mechanika command group reviews, at least for now. We are going to be continuing these with Wave 2 discussions once I have all the rules for those. I've already got the Continuum and the Martial World stuff, I just need to waiting on the ISA stuff. And they've also announced the second wave of Kickstarter, which will take us into a new faction with new releases. So for now, this is our last command group, but it's far from the end. So today we're going to cover the Iron Star Alliance, and as we've done before, who the heck are these people and why should we care? Well, the Iron Star Alliance is actually the essentially central human government. They formed around the area humanity initially started, and they're a conglomeration of nations, companies, governments, and as I said, they have formed a de facto central hub of the Thousand Worlds, this region humanity has populated. Up until recently, their only real competition was the Marcher Worlds. The Continuum was just kind of this weird culty thing on the side, and nobody had heard of the Empyreans in a long time. But this has recently changed and forced the ISA to take a much more active military stance. And what they are seeking to do is provide security and stability for its citizens. Although some claim that this very security and stability is in itself a form of oppression. On the tabletop, you're going to see armies of highly trained and well-equipped paladins. These people have a lot of money to throw at their problems, so they're going to take high-tech stuff to do it. So without further ado, let's see what they got. The Paladin Weaver is the Iron Star Alliance Weaver, as you might expect from its name. As you can see in the center there, it's Speed 6, Mat Rat 3, Defense 3, Armor 3, Focus 4. This guy's basically got the same stats as the Continuum Weaver, which is a pretty decent start. Although the one less defense is a little unfortunate, he picks up the ability Compound Armor. Whenever he takes blast damage, he actually is treated as one armor higher, so if you shoot a rocket at him, he's not as offended by it. He has a range 8 POW 3 handgun, much like the Marcher World guy did, and a Null Hammer, which is range 1 POW 4. Unlike his Marcher World companion, there are no particular abilities on these things. Although we'll get to the hammer in a moment, it can strip arc off. This guy's not really a combat piece. And at 2 health, he's not quite as durable as you want, but Carapace Armor does keep him alive a little more often. As with the other Weavers we've encountered before, when he's charged, he adds 5 range to his Cypher spells, and his start at range 12, making him in the middle, closer to the Continuum Weaver who was firing off at 18 inches. And once per activation, he can spike to use Realignment Cortex. If you do, you can clear any amount of arc from a friendly unit within 10 inches of this model, or charge one unit with any amount of arc up to its limit. This is a pretty powerful ability. The ability to hand out arc whenever you want and clear it off whenever you want, even if it's a spike, is totally worth it. And he's probably going to be charged anyway, so this is a very reliable ability to have. If you've watched any of our battle reports, controlling arc is the single most important thing you can do. And you can do some funny stuff with it too. Excuse me. You can hand arc off to a gate. You could clear arc off of, maybe your heavy's already gone or your light's already gone. Clear its arc off to free up that arc for a more powerful Cypher spell later on. Apologies. So we got some tools, and his hammer, he can strip an arc off if he hits somebody with it. Good luck getting there. If he's doing that, I feel like you're kind of getting desperate. Unlike the other Weavers, the Martial World one was a little more technical and provided a little more board control. This guy is a little more arc resource intensive, whereas the Continuum guy is all about speed, has a little bit of added hitting power and maneuverability. The solo in the box is the Paladin Commander. The Paladin Commander is speed 6, Mat Rat 4, defense 3, armor 3, also featuring compound armor. They are armed with a pulse cannon. Range 10, POW 3 is not terribly exciting, except until you realize it's a blast weapon. So you're always going to get at least an initial POW 3 damage against whatever you shot at. 2 hit points. Only defense 3, armor 3 means this isn't quite as durable as you might like, although you are going to be less susceptible to blast damage. Initially in the starter boxes, that's a really big deal because the rocket packs are very desirable. As you move out of them, I think that's going to become less relevant. Fusion Sword, range 1, POW 4. It's a pretty good melee attack, and at MAT 4, this is a respectable piece. The Marauder in the AC was just a tank. The Sniper is a glass cannon pick off people. This is more of a middle of the road character with some support abilities, such as during this activation, this model can spike to remove an activation token from a friendly Paladin squad, keyword squad, within 10 inches of it. Unit reactivation is not terribly common. This guy can do it. There's ways to reactivate a Jack. There's ways to strip off the activation off a unit with a Cipher card, but there's very little in game that lets you pull it off of a unit. And once you get to their unit is really good. And also it's worth noting that when you're charged, you can attack with all of your weapons. So there's a good argument for keeping this model charged anyway. The only downside I can see is sometimes you might be out of position to use the command interface. Because the Paladin Enforcers, essentially the same stat line as their cousin there, also compound armor, except Mat 3, Rat 3. They have range 12 assault rifles. Okay, that's pretty good. Range 1 Pow 3 melee weapon. Mwah. Divination Lock. You can spike to ignore cover and stealth for the rest of its activation. Combo this with the Shoot Twice Cipher, and these guys are money. The range 12 is kind of what worries me a little bit with their Paladin Commanders to make sure they're in position. I'm worried you might be out of position a little bit. And much like the Paladin Commander, they have a Reflex Accelerator, letting them make both melee and ranged attacks in one activation. If you're close to somebody, these guys can put out a lot more firepower than you think they can. And that's really good. What we're seeing out of the ISA here is a lot of flexibility. You can attack with all of your weapons. You can ignore this thing. It's a little bit arc intensive, but you can do some cool stuff. And the Jack is no different. The Firebrand, Speed 6, Mat Rat 4. Okay, Defense 3, Armor 3. All fairly standard, although its armor is a little bit low. It's a little concerning. It does have 3 hit points, so perfectly serviceable start there. Abilities, though. You'll see why this matters in a moment. So, right off the bat, when it's charged, its melee weapons gain +1 range. The melee weapons gain +1 range. The Scourge got +1 damage, or +1 POW. This guy's getting +1 range, which is a bit odd. This does combo very nicely with some Cipher cards, where you will see this thing doing some truly crazy things. And all of them are quite good. You can give this thing some pretty respectable melee weapons. At 3 charge, its melee weapons are range 4 in many cases, or even 5. Very respectable. And you do have a refractor field. You can spike to reroll a defense roll. Cute. Helpful. It's going to keep you alive if it's going to save you. But at defense 3, unless you're benefiting from cover, I'm not convinced this is a great thing to do. Options-wise, it comes with the Jack Hunter and Neural Web Cortexes in Wave 1. As per usual, we'll talk about the Wave 2 stuff in a later video. Jack Hunter, you can spike and you gain +3 action dice on its attack rolls targeting enemy Warjacks. So, more accurate, which means you potentially could hit harder. Very good. It is a Jack Hunter, though. So, if you're fighting another Jack, that's great. If not, that head's kind of useless. It's also worth noting it's a spike ability, and you have to do it before the attack. So, you're going to be running a little bit less efficient, but you're gaining more action dice. The question is, what's your trade-off? Neuroweb, +1 mat bonus for each other friendly unit within 5 up to 3. It is worth noting that this can combo off of other Firebrands. It's okay. I mean, getting to mat 7's cool. It's going to kill the crap out of something, particularly if it's fully charged. Unfortunately, you got to be a little bit close, and in skirmish games, that's not the apocalypse. In full-size games, that's a little bit concerning. All right, let's close off with the weapons here, and this will make a whole lot more make sense about this guy. Start the Repulsor Shield. This is the big one. It's an arm hard point. When you're hit by a melee attack, you can spike to slam the model that hits you 3 inches away. Okay, cool. It gives you +1 armor. So you go to armor 4 with a Repulsor Shield. You can have 2 of these to go to armor 5. So while your armor starts a little bit low, you can get it back up to 5. Range 2 melee weapon is good, although POW 2 is a little bit on the weak side. That said, if you can stack this thing's mat up to 7, that kinda doesn't matter. Null Cannon. Keep going on the bottom here. Shoulder hull point costs 3. If it hits you, it strips an arc off. It's range 14, POW 5. This gun is awesome. No discussion there. Hits really hard. Excellent ability. Good range. Personally, it's my preferred shoulder mount. The Harbinger Cannon, it only costs 2, which is its one big saving grace there. Range 12, POW 4 is a strict downgrade from the Null Cannon. It does have strafe, so you might be able to shoot multiple guys with it. And you can spike to ignore line of sight and cover. Line of sight's the big one. Cover is also really good too, but spiking to ignore that stuff is very helpful, particularly on a particularly arc-hungry jack like this guy. Fusion Glaive, this is where your melee weapon thing starts making more sense. Fusion Glaive costs 2, range 2, POW 5. If it hits you, you can cause system failure by spiking, which, system failure is going to prevent that jack from being a little as efficient as it could be. It's a continuous effect, so hey, there's that. Getting this thing to range 5 is particularly useful, though, comboing with some Cypher cards. You can pretty reliably get this thing way out there. Punching potentially a 12-inch, essentially thresher range on this thing. It's really good. And the assault rifle and bayonet. Who wants an assault rifle? It's range 12, POW 4. It's respectable. It comes with a range 2, POW 3 bayonet. It has no abilities. You might be wondering, well, why would I take this thing? Well, it's cost 1, so it's always good. It's on an arm hard point, so you could mix it in pretty easily. Remember that jacks can attack with all weapons. They're not limited to melee or ranged. Firebrand can totally attack with all these weapons. 2 assault rifles and a null cannon isn't a bad loadout for this guy, especially if you're going for the ranged output. I mean, you potentially have 5 attacks. So flexibility, that's the ISA's term right now. Initially, a lot of people thought they were going to be very defensive because of that compound armor, but as you look past the initial wave, that compound armor, while helpful, isn't as big of a deal because the highly attractive weapons initially were rockets, which are explosive, but going forward, I don't think that's 100% going to be the case. So I personally think that ISA right now is best served by building for flexibility as opposed to armor. Yes, going to armor 5 on your light warjack is cute. I mean, you're going to put a null cannon on it, but really? I mean, it's decent. It is cool with the repulsor shield, though, that you can slam people away, so it's a really good objective grabber. Combo with the null cannon, you can strip arc off gates and models to prevent retaliation. Double assault rifle, null cannon, pretty good. Fusion glaive, if you want to swap a weapon out for a fusion glaive, you get the points, go for it. Fusion glaive shield harbinger cannon is a pretty solid loadout. Doesn't terribly excel anything. It's a little more melee focused, but you have a good thing on everything. It is worth noting that double fusion glaive isn't an option unless you want to forego a shoulder weapon at this time. So guys, that takes us through our ISA video. I will catch you on the next one where we are going to start looking at wave 2 for all these things. So that includes the heavies. That includes 5 new weapons for the light, and some of them can go over to the heavy. Characters and wild cards. So this is Nick, signing out.
Hey, this is Dave. If you like what we're doing here at What Game Now, go ahead and click on one of the videos which should be on either side of me, or click right in the middle and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell once you subscribe so that you know when we have new videos. Please go ahead and share us with your friends. Let everybody know that we're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all of our subscribers already. And we look forward to bringing you more content every chance that we get.